Welcome back, everybody. In today's video, we're going to go over a mod that I wish the Gen 3 Montero would have come with from the factory. Let's get into it. So here's the back of my Gen 3, and I've been camping out of this thing and living out of it on the weekends for like 6 or 7 years now. I've used it a ton, and one thing that I've always wished, because my wife and I, we sleep in the back here, this is a sleeping platform, we lay this out, I have always wished that this had some kind of rear handle so that you could open up this rear door from the inside. The other Monteros have it. This one does not. I guess they decided that it wasn't important anymore for the Gen 3 and they eliminated it. However, Luso Overland has a connection and he sent me a part that will fix this problem. So here's the part that I have from Luso Overland. Now, I'm going to watch a video here in a minute about how to install this, but basically this installs on the rear door in such a way that it actuates the lever on the outside and allows you to open it from the inside. And there's a couple different ways you can do this depending on how you like, and then he's included this paracord so that you can make a loop and handle so you can position it wherever so that you can pull up on this and actually escape from the rear if you're camping back there and want to open up that rear door. So I'm going to get to uninstalling everything I have back here to show you guys how this mechanism goes in and how it works. If you're unfamiliar with my build, I have a couple different things going on here. I have these quick fists that mount this axe, and I have this aluminum table that I've got up here, but all of this should be pretty easy. There's 2 bolts underneath here. Those 2 screws go ahead and go into the factory mounts for the handle. You just pull those out. Then you come up here to the rear brake light and you undo these 2 screws and you'll pull that off. And then the rest of this is just hooked up with some Velcro. And so you'll pull that off. And then back here, this is pretty easy to take off. This is bolted straight to the metal bar that runs through this. But all you got to do is come back in here. And right there is a Phillips head screw. And there's another one on the other side over here. You undo those 2 Phillips head screws. You undo these 2 bolts that I have right here. And this whole panel should come off. So I'm going to get to disassembling this. So now that I've got these 2 bolts out and these 2 screws out, this thing's ready to come off, but it's probably a good idea to unload everything from this because when this pulls off, it's going to be pretty heavy. All right, the table's up and out of the way, and this should just pull right off. There goes that. There it is. Now that we're on the inside, you can see there's this weather stripping or weather protective seal right here. I've already been in here, and so I've already taped it up. And honestly, I didn't do a great job, so I'm looking forward to redoing that. But also, it's so dusty in here. I'm looking forward to cleaning it. So you want to peel this guy back, and that's going to expose the backside of this mechanism and the handle. So this is where your license plate goes, and the actual mechanism to open up the door is right up in there. And so that's what we're going to be tackling today and adding things to. So here's that bracket again. And Luso Overland has a great video of how to attach this. So I won't go into all the details, but the basic premise is I'm going to need to remove that guy and I'm going to need to remove this bar. As you can see, this plastic clip is already attached. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that off since I'm right here. Pop that off. And then the other thing I'm going to need to remove is this bar to get access to a hole underneath that. So I'm going to go ahead and take these off. This is 3 10mm bolts. So I've got that bracket removed with those 3 bolts. And now I'm going to install this guy. So a few things I'm going to do to this piece before I get it installed. The first one is I'm going to loosen up these bolts. The Luso Overland instructions tell you to loosen those up so that it can grab the tab in the car, which I'll show you in a second. And then I've removed this screw. That will need to be installed later, but removing it now makes it easier. The other thing that I'm working on is this handle actually indexes. So if you pick up on it, you can pick it up and turn it and it'll kind of index. That will be helpful later. But one of the things that I want to do is I want to add the paracord string to this to help actuate it. That'll give me something to grab. I don't have to reach in there and work the lever with my finger. It'll give me something to grab that's up on top, especially when I'm in my sleeping area. It'll give me plenty of room to get a hold of it. And so in order to get the best kind of purchase on this lever, I'm going to drill a hole for this paracord to go through. And I'm going to drill it right here as far out as I can while still being in the meat of this handle. So I'm going to grab a drill bit and see if I can figure out what size I need for that. As you can see on the back here, there's a little hollow section. I don't want to try to drill through that. That's just going to be too tough. So I'm going to try to aim for right there. And I've got an 11/64 drill bit that fits perfectly in that spot and should be a big enough hole for this paracord. So I'm going to drill that out and see if I can't get this attached. So there it is. I was able to loop that through. I'll get a good knot on there. I just have this one on there for now. 11/64 was the perfect size, but that should be a good amount of purchase right there, and it's as far out as it can get. So now it's time to install this in the vehicle. So I've come in here, I've undone that bolt, and I've taken off the bracket, and now it's time to install the Lusso Overland piece. I'm going to go ahead and install it right on top of this wiring. Try to weasel it in here. Get that hung on that guy right there and get that 10mm nut attached. So I got that bolt in, and now I'm working on some other things. I've got this screw attached. This is the hole where it bolts the bracket, which is pretty genius to use this. This is an otherwise unused spot, so that works really well. And right now I'm working on attaching the actual lever. And this is gonna be very hard to see just because of the lighting. But basically, there's a hole in this bracket that goes behind this, that goes to the back of the clip. And then this front part attaches to the front of the clip. And that's what you're gonna cinch down when you tie these two, or screw these two things in. So I'm gonna try to weasel that in there. That feels pretty good. And now I'm gonna insert the bar. Okay, now the bar is in there, and now I'm gonna tighten everything down. So I'm gonna tighten down these two screws in the front there, and I'm gonna tighten this down. That I'm not super worried about. It's not gonna move a whole lot, but I'm gonna get all those nice and snug before I move on to this and figuring out how I'm gonna get that to go up through the trim. So now everything is tightened down. I've got this guy reattached and snapped in, and I've oriented this and done a better knot on the end of this. Now, Lusso Overland doesn't necessarily recommend this. He's got one where it's going at a bit of an angle, and I might end up having to go that way too, but I wanna see if this will work, where I've got this pointed straight up, and there's a little bit of resistance here, and I wouldn't be afraid of trimming this mount just a bit to give it a little more clearance. But here's what I'm trying to do. I've temporarily reinstalled this top trim, and I'm trying to get this loop to pop up right here. So I've stretched it out a straight shot from where that lever action is to right here. And I just want to drill a hole straight through here that will allow for the paracord to go through so that I can pull straight up on it. That's going to give me the most leverage and the easiest access when I'm sleeping in the back of here to pull up and push this out so that I can unlock or open this door. So here's that string dragged up on top. I'm just going to choose a point right in the middle, and I'm going to go ahead and make a mark with a Sharpie. And I'm going to drill this one out a little bigger. That way it just has room to get up there and to actuate. And I'm going to drill straight through there. That way it goes through the plastic and the metal at the same time. All right, it appears that there's 2 layers of steel here. No big deal. I'm gonna drill another hole through here. Just keep going down like I've been, and hopefully I'll punch through to something that I can use. Boom. Wow, that was a huge pain in the butt. Not gonna lie to you guys. Probably easier to feed that through the top down, but it's in there now. So now I gotta just make sure that it's oriented correctly and give it a shot, see if it works. All right, it worked. All right, so now that I've got this installed, I'm realizing that when I pull up on this and I actuate this lever, this has a propensity to get stuck. And that's not really this mechanism's fault. That's mostly a result of this whole area, this whole mechanism inside of here, the actual door latching unit. That's pretty gummed up. So I've sprayed some WD-40 on it, and that's helped a little. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take this apart and make sure it's all lubed up well. So there's 3 Phillips heads right here. I'm gonna pull those off, disconnect the lever in there, and pull that out and make sure it's good and clean. So I got this out. It actually ended up being another bolt, a 10 millimeter right here. And then I had to disconnect this guy up here. Not 100% sure what that's for, but it's part of the lever actuators. And so had to disconnect that. And you can see real clearly here, yeah, that's not going to move super smoothly. So this is, I don't think it's ever been cleaned. So we're looking at over 20 years, 21 years of grime and dirt in here. So I'm going to get this cleaned out with brake clean, sprayed down, scrubbed down, and then re-lubed. And hopefully it's a lot smoother. All right, got this thing cleaned up, and as you can see, looking a lot better and actuating super smoothly. Went ahead and put some silicone spray on it. So this thing should be good to go. I'm gonna throw it back in the car. So I got this thing back in, and I'm gonna tighten these bolts down, but I just want to go over this again. There's 3 bolts out here, and then there's this one over here. On the inside, there's this electrical plug that goes in the bottom here. And then this is really hard to see up there, but you can see where this actually ends up being the lock and unlock lever that goes into the green one. And then I got that back in. The other thing I did is I went ahead and I lubed up all of the pivot points on here. And now this is actuating completely normally. That should be good to go. So with that all taken care of, I'm going to do a little bit of work here to try to clean this up. I'm just going to try to deburr that so that it doesn't scratch it. I'm not super worried about it. It's going to get pulled straight up, and it's not like I'm reefing on it all the time. And so I'm going to get that taken care of, and then I'm going to get this cleaned up, buttoned up, and this installation will be done. Don't forget to reinstall this before you put up the weather trim. Got to get this guy attached. That's what bolts the back tray together. If you have a toolbox, that's what that bolts into, or I have that little storage box that goes right there. So now with that, I'm going to get this reattached, do some retaping of this weather shielding, and then get the plastic on. All right, so I got the panel back on. That's all attached. Got my screws in there. I've got this thing fully loaded just like I would for camping. Got the axe installed. And then here's this loop. I went ahead and just tucked the rest of this paracord after making a loop with it back into this panel. So it's hidden, it's out of the way, but also I didn't have to cut it. So if I want to do something different with it later, I can. And then I attach this carabiner, and then this fun 40 caliber kind of bead to it, and that's going to be my pull cord for now. I might change it up later. What I'm really looking for here is I don't want it to do this, and so I might just switch to having something soft like this, but when I'm off-roading, I don't want this clacking around. But for now, this is an easy way to pull up on it. It can just dangle down here, and so that's this door handle installed, and now it's ready to be accessed from the inside. All right, it works. So just like that, this thing is fixed. Now I can access the door, the rear door, from the inside of my car when I'm camping, which is a huge win for me. Like I said, I wish they would have put this in from the factory, but I'm so stoked that Lusso Overland makes one. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this is helpful for you. If you want to add this to your car, check it out at lussooverland.com, and I'll see you on the next one.